Yeah, continue. It said, and they came into the house and saw the child with Mary his mother, and they fell down and worshipped him. And opening their treasures, they presented to him gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh. And having been warned by Yahweh in a dream not to return to Herod, they departed for their own country by another way. That's Matthew 2, verse 1 through 12. Continuing this thrust to establish Yahweh's right to Israel's true and final kingship, in chapter 2, Matthew gives 3 additional evidences of Yahushua of Nazareth's legitimate, unique, and absolute royal right to the throne of David. In the present chapter, we find the testimony of the Magi who came to give homage and gifts to the infant Yahushua, he who has been born a king of the Jews. The powerful Oriental kings makers from Persia traveled a great distance to recognize and honor a king in whose coronation they had no part, a king far greater than any they had ever or would ever sit on a throne. The next evidence of Mashiach's kingship is shown in negative or reverse through the antagonism and hatred of Herod. Herod's devious scheme to discover and destroy this unknown baby shows his fear that the Magi's declaration about the child could be correct, and gives unintended testimony to Yahushua's true royalty. True royalty. Herod knew that he himself was a usurper to the throne on which he sat only by virtue of Rome, who herself ruled Judah only by the right of military force. Herod was an Edomite, not a Jew. And that's the only reason why I kept this book, because it is jewels in here. It is little pieces. Like, you're not gonna find that out in every book. You know what I mean? Because when you go in there, like I've heard a lot of people say they want to do something about Herod. Herod, because it was multiple Herods. That was like the family name. They all, like how it was multiple Ptolemies, like it was multiple Cleopatras. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's deep. This truth is fascinating. I just heard Apostle Rama say something. He said he was gonna do a lesson, and I'm waiting for that. I'm sure it's gonna be very edifying. He said, you got everybody's addicted to something. You got some people addicted to drugs, money, sex, alcohol, food. He said you got some people addicted to knowledge, and some people addicted to the truth. And like I said, every time, like just based on that dude, on Antiochus Epiphanes, because I don't want to mess up nothing. I don't got my I don't got my facts all in order, but I do know that out of the generals that took over and broke up Alexander the Great's kingdom, Ptolemy and Herod I think came from the secular dude. I know them was the ones that ran Palestine, and I think that's where Herod comes from. And then I know they were warring with each other, because I know Ptolemy ended up fighting them. Because they Edomites. They greedy. They want everything. You know what I'm saying? But my whole point is, you're not gonna find that in too many books about. And then, like I said, Herod's father was an Edomite, so his mother was a Judite, I believe. I know she was an Israelite, and it goes. I know this much about him. I know that basically he was killing some of his kids. He killed his wife. You know what I'm saying? Because once he married to get in and got her impregnated, you know what I'm saying? Like, this motherfucker Herod was a piece of shit. Anyhow, and no legitimate claim to be the Jews' king. He therefore feared and hated even the suggestion of a rival claimant. But even the hatred of the false king gave indirect testimony to the identity of the true king. The third evidence of Mashiach's kingship given in chapter 2 is presented through 4 fulfilled Masonic prophecies. Some 330 Old Testament predictions concern Yahushua Mashiach. Damn, I ain't know that. In chapter 2, Matthew points out 4 of those prophecies that were fulfilled during Yahushua's infancy. There is no reasonable possibility that even those 4, much less all 330, could have been fulfilled accidentally in the life of a single individual. That fact in itself is overwhelming evidence of Yahweh's sovereign control of history and of the utter reliability of his word. Now, I respect that. And I think any brother that's listening to this would as well. Matthew uses the four prophecies as a literary framework around which he presents the events recorded in this chapter. Each of the predictions is directly related to a geographical location closely related to Yahushua's birth and early childhood. The four locations are Bethlehem, Egypt, Ramah, and Nazareth. Yeah, because I think they say that he's going to be born in Bethlehem, and then well, I'm going to let them go into it. The present passage, built around the prediction of Yahushua's birth in Bethlehem, focuses on the coming of the Magi to worship Yahushua, the one they somehow knew had been born King of the Jews. Within this story, we also see the reaction of Herod and of the chief priests and scribes to that same news. In this brief text, we see examples of the three basic responses that men made to Yahushua when he was on earth. The same three responses that men throughout history have made to the Lord. Some, like Herod, are hostile to him. Some, like the chief priests and scribes, are indifferent to him. And some, like the Magi, worship him. As we, the true sincere brothers in GMS, and in the other camps, because you got some sincere brothers that just led astray for whatever reason, but if they are part of the elect, like I said, Most High, I heard one of the brothers in my camp, and I was watching one of his videos, and I heard him say something, and it was deep. He was talking about that Star of David, how it's not biblical, and he was saying he just went into how it came from, it got a history in Egypt and all this different stuff. Long story short, he was saying, it go back to Babylon for real, but he was saying how, you got to do people that's caught up for multiple reasons, because, sins of the father sometimes do come back on the son. So, you know what I mean? I know scripture said that the Most High is going to punish the father, individually for their sins, but you can have a father's name, and because of what type of individual that person was, you could be looked at differently. Like you're gonna pay for, you get what I'm saying? Like basically, because a good name is something to behold and respect it and to honor, you know what I'm saying? Anyhow, but he was saying how some people caught up in that witchcraft and whatnot, and sorceries and all that left-handed side energy, which you seeing more and more of in these latter days. Anyhow, he was saying how you really have to be like the Most High gonna have to get you up out of that. He was like how the Most High is gonna prove his power. If he have to send you through that to show you that he real, that he exists, that he's Yahweh, the self-existent one. Yahweh by Hashem, Yahushua, and have Yahushua save you, you know what I mean? Then, because he's going to prove his power, he shows his power and his might every day. It's just, these fucking demons don't want to recognize it. But I didn't mean to get sidetracked like that. Now after Yahushua was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, Magi from the east arrived in Jerusalem, saying, where is he who has been born King of the Jews? For we saw his star in the east and have come to worship him. Matthew 2:1 and 2. The events described in this passage probably occurred several months after Yahushua was born. We see from Matthew 2 and 11 that Yahushua's family was now staying in a house rather than the stable where he was born, which you can read in Luke 2 and 7. Yahushua therefore would already have been circumcised, and Mary would have completed her period of purification. Luke 2:21 and 27. Right, because women, because they had that cycle, they supposed to bleed. For 7 days they unclean, then they unclean for, I think it's another 7 days. So they not even. That's why the woman ain't supposed to even be in the house with you when she's on her cycle. You know what I mean? So how can anything really righteous come from a nasty ass woman? I ain't saying all of them ain't, because some women, can have a man, give a man the strength to come out and do this work, and this ain't an easy job. You know what I mean? Like this is real talk. You know what I mean? Like this will make a man out of you. You know what I mean? But then you got majority of our females, like I was hearing the brother, not to digress or go off topic, but just for whatever reason I want a female, you know, because you know, I'm thinking about videos I've been watching it, you know, like the one brother Barack from the GMS Ancient of Days, he was talking about how, you know, he went into I forgot what's the term when a female's, you know, her clitoris or her vaginal area, her when her quabas stink, you know what I mean, like I forgot what it's called, vaginal something. But he was like, these women nasty because they've had too much semen bust up in them. I mean, luckily, you know, my children's mother wasn't like that, you know. Although she, you know, she got a whole bunch of spears on her ass. But not to go, like I said, digress. But my point is, so what makes you think that, you know, he really dealing with a woman like that? Now, don't get me wrong, he can use whatever he want to use. You know, he could use an animal like he used in the story of Balaam and the donkey. You know what I mean? He could use whatever he want. Like he used the fish for Job. I mean, but at the same time, he usually uses men. You know, the tabernacle of the Most High resides with men. Revelation 21. You know. Anyhow, the fact that she offered a pair of turtle doves or young pigeons instead of her normal lamb, Leviticus 12, 6, and 8 indicates that the family was poor. Had this offering. Now, I've heard multiple things, and we don't know. Well, maybe they was poor at the time, you know what I'm saying? I know the Messiah, I mean, because you got to remember, the Magi came with gold and all kind of gifts, and all those gifts represented something, and all of those gifts were very expensive gifts at that time. You know, the frankincense, that was expensive. The myrrh was expensive. And then, you know, they actually had barren gold. So I know, you know, the Messiah didn't grow up poor though, you know, because like I said, his scriptures went up, you know what I mean? I think in Luke, I can't remember what gospel it was talking about, how when he had his ministry, and then, you know, I think it was like 4,000, you know, people that were sitting and listened to him, and, you know, he told the disciples to go get go get some food for him. I think it was one of the times when he made turned the fish into enough to feed all the followers of everybody that was, you know, following him. And he told them to go get go get the food. And I forgot who spoke to him. It was one of the disciples, though. They was like, well, you know, they might not even have enough food for them. So it was like, because they had like 4,000 people, so it was like they had the money to pay for it. You know what I mean? Then, you know, I mean, like I said, he didn't walk around bummy and impoverished, whatnot. You got to remember, like I said, when they crucified him, you know, they didn't want to tear up his clothes. You know what I mean? They didn't want to rent the clothes. They actually shot dice over the clothes. Anyhow, had this offering been made after the Magi with their expensive gifts had already visited Yahushua, the lamb could have easily have been afforded and would have been required. Bethlehem of Judea, as it still is today, Bethlehem was then a small town 5 or 6 miles south of Jerusalem, and the fertile hill of Judea, or Judah, is cradled between two ridges and was located along the main ancient highway from Jerusalem to Egypt. It was once called Ephrath or Ephratha, and is referred to by the name several times in the Old Testament. They given precepts: Genesis 35 and 16, Ruth 4 and 11, Psalms 132 and 6, and Micah 5 and 2. The town came to be called Bethlehem after the conquest of Canaan under Joshua, its new name meaning house of bread. It was at Bethlehem that Jacob buried Rachel. Genesis 35 and 19, the traditional site of whose tomb is still shown to tourists today. Ain't that about something? But yet still they say the Bible is fictitious. It was also here that Ruth met and married Boaz, Ruth 1:22 and 2 and 4, and that their illustrious grandson David grew up and tended sheep. 1 Samuel 17, 12 and 15. By the time of Yahushua's birth, it had long been called the city of David. Luke 2, 4 and 11. The prophet Micah specifically promised that the Messiah would come from this small village. Micah 5 and 2. And that was one of the prophecies. So I think I'm going to stop right there. I apologize about going into that virgin birth. Like I said, I should have thought it more clearly out because of the fact, like I said, we supposed to, what's the word? Basically, defend the gospel, and we have a gospel, you know, and we have a belief, you know. I didn't come prepared, but like I said, I want to continue to read out of it. And I'm going to say this as much, you know, I'm one of the brothers, I don't have a lot of subscribers, so, and I don't want to be held accountable for, you know, adding to or taking from the word or misleading, because, you know, a teacher has a responsibility. So your best bet when you're trying to learn is listening to the apostles and elders. But, you know what I'm saying, at the same time, I'm not saying that you can't learn from another brother in GMS. You know, you can even learn something outside of scriptures. You just got to match it up with the scriptures, because the scriptures is the main book. But you got to always, you know, do your due diligence and, you know, study and research and make sure, you know, because you don't want to go off. So like I said, if anything I've said is going off, like I said, I know, because I reiterated multiple times that virgin birth is bullshit. I made that known before I even went into the chapter, and my spirit was telling me not to read it, but like I said, it did at least admit about the Herod, you know what I mean? So anyhow, with that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Yashem, Yahweh Shah, by Hashem, Racha, Kodash, Barakatham. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the Akim around the four corners of the earth, pushing the truth with faith and sincerity. Until next time, Adawan Ratazah. I'm capable of putting up another video soon. And Shalom and a ball for ball.